People of Pandora, this is Handsome Jack, your hero. We all know that ever since I took over your armpit of a planet, Pandora has been at peace. Until these pathetic vault hunters showed up, that is. You know, you idiots are so pathetic. Do you have any idea how much firepower you're gonna need to take me down? A lot. A whole goddamn lot. Okay, that's a lot of guns.
I'm back. Back in the game, baby. I'm back in the game.
Who are you?
Where the hell you been?
Here.
Yeah, man, I'm getting warmed up for that Resident Evil, you know, so I've got to kind of pick up a controller and get some practice, get back into playing some games. It's been too long, but you know what? I couldn't figure out a better way to get back into games than playing this game right here, Borderlands 2. Everybody's been talking Borderlands 2. Everybody's been saying, oh, it's bigger and better, and it's more badass, it smells better than the last Borderlands. And I mean, I never played the last Borderlands. I don't know anything about the history of these characters, and even with that factored in, I didn't care, because all this game is about is going around looting boxes and blasting fools. That's what it is.
You could make an argument and say that you would probably have a better time with Borderlands 2 if you didn't play Borderlands 1. Like, if this is the first one of those games you played, you really don't need to know shit from the first game, and you know it's a better experience overall than the first one. So
yes. You know, I almost started to kick this off like an email show. I want to read some email. That's the only time I'm with you guys. But hello, I am your loading bartender, Corey Coleman. Well, that is true. I am one of your loading bartenders, Corey Coleman. I'm joined by the other loading bartenders, Jeff, Kevin, and, of course, Nikki Pooh. We don't have Jason today, so I can already let me get this out the way. Fuck all you people. Fuck all you people come in and say, I ain't listening to this because Jason ain't. You got me now, goddammit. Fuck you.
Yeah, it feels all fantastic out, man. You kinda...
Yeah, he's getting evicted from his home, and he's at Fantastic Fest and all that kind of stuff. He's selling his home, actually. Don't let me put that rumor out there. But
we should have just told people he was fired. And then
there'll be all these petitions asking for Jason to return.
Oh, Jesus. Don't even play like that. The fact that you even play like that, people coming in, fuck you, Kevin. Don't even joke around like that, man. Jason's my favorite, man. Yeah, I'm jacking off right now. Yeah.
A sheer drop in listeners to the show because of Jason's departure.
No, look, you got the D team, me, right now, okay? So fuck you, deal with it. D is for deal with that shit. But listen, I don't need to know the story in Borderlands. I don't know anything about the first Borderlands. With this one, you're going back to Pandora. You got Handsome Jack is the villain here. He's going and mining the planet for some valuable material, and he sent his henchmen to kill you at the beginning of the game. So you know you got to go put a bullet in his ass because he's fucking with you. And who cares, man? I will say this. I'm gonna piss some people off right now because with I having not played the first Borderlands 2, as I've mentioned many times already. I'm going to tell you right now, the story ain't shit here. Everybody's talking about how great the story is and it's deeper and the characters are richer.
Who said that? Who said the story was great? I don't remember any fucking story playing through this game.
Okay, I gotta step in here for a second because I think this game has a decent enough story, and I think that it has a lot of. I mean, the thing that's probably going to be missing for anybody that didn't play the first game is that the 4 vault hunters from the first Borderlands actually play a pretty significant role. So it's interesting to see the player characters from the first game come back and be be like major story elements in the second game. But I mean, for anybody who cares, it's basically at the end of the first Borderlands, you open up this vault and all this uridium comes out, and it's 5 years later, and the Hyperion Corporation, led by Handsome Jack, is kind of taken over Pandora, and you are leading kind of a resistance group to stop him from doing a bunch of stupid evil shit, which is great because Handsome Jack has to be one of the most lovably hateable video game characters I've ever experienced in a video game.
I see. That's what I got to say, man. I'm saying the story is not that much because if you don't have that rich history from the first game, there's not a whole lot here. I spent most of the game fighting stuff, and I still don't know what's happening except that Handsome Jack is just talking shit to me the whole time, and I can't wait to go and put a bullet in his head. But that does, the characters, though, some characters are a little too cartoonish. Like there's a 13-year-old girl in here who just goes around, hey, I'm talking funny. But most of the time, a lot of the other
Tiny Tina is the worst of all the characters in this game. God, she is terrible. She's like some kind of mutant offspring between Here Comes Honey Boo Boo and a fucking gangster rapper. Like, I don't know. Like, there's something just eminently wrong about her character that I was just like, no, get away from me, Tiny Tina.
Oh yeah, but no, Handsome Jack though. Whoever is writing the dialogue for Handsome Jack and whoever does the voice, he makes me laugh, man. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you, man. But that's funny. Yeah. That is funny what you just said. Like some of the lines that he comes in, he says, "Hey, buddy, I'm gonna do this and do that. Don't mean to talk to you in a condescending way." Condescending, that's a word for talking down to you. You got that, buddy? And it's just like, oh, you asshole.
It's funny, though, because there's actually a point about 3/4 of the way through this game where, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how invested you are in the story of Borderlands 2, where he becomes a lot more threatening because of some of the story elements that happen. Like, he actually, I mean, it's not that he becomes, I mean, because he's like, he's kind of the generic bad guy, and you don't see him until the very end of the game, so he doesn't really have much of a presence. But about halfway through, a lot of his jokiness kind of starts to, or 3/4 of the way through, a lot of his jokiness kind of starts to fall away, and he becomes a lot more just vicious in the stuff that he's calling up and talking to you about.
Oh, they if you do enough side missions in here, I will say that except for a couple of annoying characters, there's a lot of good characters in here too, and Handsome Jack is probably, I think, one of the best written ones. But there's hints of that if you do enough side missions where you get to hear recordings of him shooting people in the face ruthlessly, and that's what I did. I gotta let people know that I have not completed the game. Of course, if people keep up with the site, I do a lot more than play the games, so I'm about halfway through. But the other reason why I didn't finish is because I did a lot of co-op play, and doing co-op play, I was just building up my experience points by just going off and doing side missions, a lot of side missions. And I have to say, I think that's where the game really excels, is in doing a lot of co-op play. Because Jeff, you and I were talking, and we were saying, outside of the look of the game, because I love the cel-shaded, dark, the black outline look of the game. I think this game is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful titles I've seen this year. But outside of that, yeah, it's a basic shooter. That's not to say that it's not fun or that's a bad thing. I just don't think it's anything highly innovative. But there's not a whole lot of co-op games that I get to play these days, and I love co-op. And I've just spent like the whole weekend playing with my friend Brian in Amsterdam, and I think that's where the game excels for me, is when you go in and you just do a lot of great co-op play.
Well, Kevin and Nick, we haven't heard from you guys yet. Come on, pipe up. What do you think?
I completely agree with. I completely agree with
just shut up. I know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just about to say, I completely agree with Corey. This game is meant to be played with other people. Like, I tried for the first hour or so to be playing by myself, and it's just not that enjoyable. It comes across as generic. I mean, yes, it's really gorgeous the way that the environment's all cel-shaded and everything, and the dialogue is great, but it's really comes down to playing with other people that this game shines.
I think that playing with other people is cool, except that everybody that I played with happens to be the Terminator and wiped out everything in the game for me. I was mostly just trying to keep up and collect like money and things, like some sort of little like carry along guy or something.
Like,
sidekick.
Contributed.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I think one of the major issues there is Kevin and I played co-op last night, and he was level, I think, like 15 or 20, something like that, and I was level 32, and the game had no idea what to do about that. Like, it made the enemies a little bit stronger than Kevin, but like they couldn't even hurt my character at that point, because I just stand in the middle of them, let them shoot me with rockets, and it was like, no.
You actually pissed me off, man, Jeff. I didn't stop playing with you because I was pissed. I couldn't hear you in the headset. I was playing one night, and Jeff was saying, I told him, I said, man, I'm having trouble with this boss. I'm probably not leveled up enough, and I haven't got the right weapons yet. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, leveling up and weapons, because that's something that's pretty cool about the game too. But I remember playing, and I was in there. I like to go in, even if it's hard. I'm like that handicapped person who, like, I can do it myself, I
already see where this is going.
I don't need any help, okay? I can walk.
Don't need your help. I'm strong enough to do it. And I was sitting up there trying to beat this one boss, and Jeff just pops up out of nowhere and just goes in there and swoops in and just totally wipes this guy out with like a couple of hits, and then he runs along on his merry way. And I was like, I'm standing there in the middle of all this fight and everything. I told you I can do it myself.
Or was Jeff shooting him with a sniper rifle?
No, he was using turrets, man.
I was just way over leveled for what they were doing, and yeah.
And for some reason, when Jeff left, my character was in a wheelchair. I can do it myself. I don't know where that came from, but that's okay. When I say that there's nothing really innovative about the game. That's okay because just like I say with movies all the time, we've seen everything that there is to say. We don't have to expect something to be groundbreaking all the time, but with where this game, even though it's a shooter, some of your best shooters, even if they are basic, they give you there's great fun in doing experimentation. There's tons of weapons in this game that you can play with. I mean, it's almost maddening trying to figure out what you want. That's a compliment, but it drove me fucking crazy trying to figure out what do I use all these weapons of choice right here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the sort of person, I mean, it's got that Diablo style loot system where they've got it randomized. You get guns that have elemental effects or different types of damage effects or stuff. So it's not always clear, when you first pick up a gun, whether it's. I mean, that's one of the things that I didn't like about this game is I wish the guns had some kind of like adjusted DPS on them so that you knew by looking at two guns which was better. Because if you have a gun that does elemental damage, that could be better than what you're using, but you really have to look at it. And the game, oh my God, are there guns in this game? There's so many guns.
I felt like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. I was just pocketing every single gun I could find and shoving it in my pockets.
Yeah, see, I'm the kind of guy where I find a gun that works and I'm scared to give it up. That's what makes me crazy in the game. I'm like,
I might need this later.
yeah, I can do it with this. No, I'm like, I find a gun that will work for a while. That's the thing. You get invested in your character, and there's a lot of replay value here because. I played the game as the Assassin Zero, but there's 4 characters you can play here. You can play the Gunzerker, whatever his name is. You can be you can be the soldier, which is what the commando, which is what you are, Jeff. When I saw you, and what's the girl?
Axton, Maya, the siren.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, I'm having fun playing with the assassin. There's so many things that you can do because with every character you have 3. Like the skill trees that you could use, well, at least for my character, I know I had sniping, cunning, and melee. Yeah. And so for your style of play, you can build up those trees. Now, I'm a coward, so I was building up sniper because I like to stand behind shit and just blast people from a rock like a mile away. But you can build up these other areas here, and I think they're unique for every character. So I'm looking at Jeff when he comes in. He's using these badass turrets, and all I have is a fucking hologram. I'm like, man, I want what he has. And so, I want to go back and play the game with that character, with his character, the commando, but I'm invested in my assassin right now. So I definitely will at some point when I get bored and I don't have any other games to play, I'll go back and play this with another character or do the new game plus and try out some other skill trees on the assassin that I have right now.
I mean, the game is good in that like each one of the characters has a very unique set of powers that are really interesting. I mean, Axton has the turret, Maya has a phase lock ability that but she can also, you can spec that character out for damage or for healing if you want to go online. Salvador is the Gunzerker, so you can dual wield guns at the same time. Zero has invisibility. So I mean, each one of the characters they only have one real ability that gets used throughout most of the game, but that ability in and of itself is very customizable. You have all 3 of these different trees that you can use to really customize what that ability is going to do, and if you want to kind of go in this direction or this direction, I mean, there's just a lot of variation on what you can do with any individual character.
Yeah,
even to the point where the Zero the Assassin has like a whole tree that's dedicated to melee attacks, which seems like crazy in a game with 87 bazillion guns that. There's a character there who you're going to run up and click in the right stick on somebody over and over and over again to hit them with the sword. But it's in there.
Kevin, you sitting back there all quiet and everything. What are you doing? You awake?
Yeah, no, but I don't know. I mean, you guys are talking about the weapons. I mean, I think they're all great, although there's definitely some weapons work against some guys and some weapons don't, and it's often you got to switch around and everything, and it's a constant battle for grabbing ammunition. I mean, it just at times I felt rather weak. Because my guns weren't doing what I wanted them to do. You had to keep... There's so many, though. I mean, I don't know. It's just so random, all of their stats and everything, that it's a lot of fun to keep switching all between them and see what every one of them does. It's just that some of them don't work very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say you got to experiment a lot. I mean, that's the thing. The game kind of forces you to spend some time with it because you're going to have to figure out what works better than the other. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though. I mean, that keeps things interesting.
Well, it's also, I mean, I felt like, kind of speaking to that, Kevin, I also felt like the game has a really slow start. I mean, they make you go up to level 5 before they even give you your character's ability, and then it seemed to be I didn't start getting guns that I was actually like happy using until I got to around level 10 or 12. So, I mean, the game has you go through the first 2 or 3 levels without a shield, and they give you a shield, but they really, really dole out your character has 4 different gun slots that you can use and all of these modifiers for relics and different abilities that you can add on. And it really reels those out to you very slowly. Like it takes, I would say it was level 15 to 20 before I finally had all 4 weapon slots and all of the different stuff kind of running at one time. And at that point, I felt like the game got exponentially better. Like it was fun before, but once you get all that stuff kind of rolled out, you get in the middle of the skill trees, it got way more fun. And I just wish they would have expedited that beginning part, because in the beginning there were parts where it definitely started to feel like a slog.
Yeah.
But then they would run out of things to give you, though. I mean, like that. They were building up to that, and if they give it all too quickly, then it will just be the rest of the game.
See, I mean, I think that with 3 different, I got to level 32, I think, was when I finished the game, and my character just barely had enough skill points to get all the way to the bottom of one of those skill trees. And that was basically choosing, like you get to choose one side or the other. There's 3 trees, and then each tree branches off, and then it meets back in the middle. And I barely had enough to get all the way down to the bottom of that. I figured, give me some more skill points. Like, let me test out some of these other abilities or see about stacking stuff up to make me even more of a badass. And I felt like there was plenty of room there, especially with the way the scaling in the game works, to give that sense of power. Because that's what you want out of a game like this. You want to feel like a badass.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of times where I was just getting killed, and it was like,
Yeah. I will say that I kind of agree with you, Jeff. I mean, I know you say it gets better. I think it's kind of slow. I think it's a little too slow to build up your skills, your skill trees. That's just me. I mean, it doesn't have to be quick, but I don't know. Getting those points, man, is pretty labor intensive.
Yeah, and there's so many things in the skill tree that just give you like a percentage boost to something, where it's not like, hey, I got this cool new power, check it out. It's like, oh, look, an extra 3% to gun damage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because when I'm looking at that, I'm like, God, I put some work in for that point, man. And give me something for it. Shit, it's like when you work. I remember when I was about. It took me back to when I was about 13 years old, and I went with a friend of mine to watch this little fucking parking lot circus or something, and then they asked for volunteers to break it down, and we spent like about 4 hours breaking down a tent and shoveling shit and all this kind of stuff, and at the end they gave us like $20. And that's what I felt like right here. I was like, Jesus, man, this reminds me of something. But you know what? I all that said, the game is giving you a lot. It's giving you a lot to play with. I mean, once you're done, you can go back and do side missions. I mean, you can go back and play with other characters, as we mentioned. And the story, for all those people who are getting upset at me for talking shit about the story, I give the story respect for having a great sense of humor about it. We were talking about Salvador. One of his abilities is go in and flick people off and make them mad, and then chase them and he blows them away or some shit. And that's really cool. Except for my character. My character is just way too serious. So every time my character does something, he shoots somebody, he's like, I like that. Or there was a point where I put out my hologram. He's like, your eyes deceive you. Cast upon them. I was just like, man, just fucking shoot.
It's so weird because the soldier refers to his turret as his. He's like, whenever you toss it out, he says stuff like, "You guys met the missus," or like, "Here comes the old lady." Like he refers to his turret. It's a really weird way. I get this mental image of like, oh no, dude, come on, reel it in a little bit on that shit.
When your mic wasn't working, I thought that was you talking, Jeff. I thought you were like so into the game. I was like, wow, he's really into this, man. But yeah, you know what? I give this game it's definitely a full price game. There's a lot of value in there, and the only way I would not say that you shouldn't play the game is if you just don't like this category of game. But if you do, or if you just like games in general, it's a lot of fun, full price.
Were there any negative things about the game that you could think of?
I just mentioned a whole lot of.
That. I mean, like, I'm just waiting for someone to mention the driving mechanics. That's the only thing I could think of that I didn't like.
Those driving mechanics were a lot easier than some games I played. And your weapons on there, they don't do that bullshit of overheating. You got to wait and for it to cool down and shoot again. I like that the game didn't really deal with a lot of. I mean, granted, it's not real world physics or anything, but who cares? Like, I like the fact that you could jump off of high things and not die, except when you fall off of, like, a huge cliff. Of course, you die then. Or, like I said, your weapons don't.
Well, I mean, only when you jump into a hole. Like, if you jump off the map, it'll kill you. But I mean, like, I got a thing from jumping from, like, a mile up in the air, and I just hit the ground, like, boop, yep.
Exactly. Yeah. In some ways, it's, like, a little disorienting, but at the same time, it's like, just concentrate on the fun things about the game. That's
one thing.
It's just that is like a bit of an issue because on the PlayStation 3, you have to use the dual shock sticks in order to accelerate and turn, and it is a wee bit disorientating. And not to mention that you're playing online, you got other people driving the car for you, and it makes everyone shit at driving. So oftentimes you get some, cocky little dick thinking he can, clear a crevasse of a jump, and then you just end up way down deep in the middle. And since I'm the gunner, I'll be stuck inside the mountain, glitching my head off, and then having to reload the game. So, I mean, that happened way too many times.
We've seen. There's been games in the past that had that same kind of style of driving controls, and I think that it's more accessible for people, but it's just not quite as responsive as your standard kind of just gas, brake, turn stuff, which I don't know. For a video game, it seems like they could have given you maybe an option to switch over. Me personally, I've kind of felt more disappointed with the lack of different vehicles. So there was basically two. There was this little buggy, like a two-person buggy, and then a four-person technical. And I kept expecting, like, they had a menu to switch between the different classes. I'm like, all right, where's the hover tank or the fucking, I don't know, helicopter or something? Like, give me one of those buzzards, let me fly that around the map or what. I guess.
That is true, man. You could tell they didn't put a whole lot of work into the driving part. More is, it's mainly the shooting part. I'm sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
Yeah. One thing I just wanted to mention about it that I really kind of liked was the fact that when we talk about co-op, it's not like you have to go out to. Well, I played it on Xbox. To go out to Xbox Live, find somebody, then send them an Xbox Live invite. Instead, there's like a whole sub-menu here that shows all your friends and the ones that are playing it. And if they allow you to, which most of them do, you can just hop into that game at any point and join that person, like right from within the game. It's a great interface. And while I was playing it, I had friends of mine jump into the game quite seamlessly, in and out, whatever they wanted to. So you can just play with people really open-ended. It's really nice. I wish more games employed this system.
But wait a minute. That reminds me, before we finish, there is one giant negative that this game has that I almost feel like needs to get patched or fixed or something, and that is the fact that when you play co-op with another person, they could just fucking hoover up the guns and they could just keep them for themselves. Like there is no like rolling for. I mean, like if you shoot a boss and you put in like a kill from a distance, that boss drops an awesome gun. That other person in the game could just pick it up, and if they're a dick, they just get it. Like you don't have any opportunity to try to roll for it or any of that stuff like you have in other games. I mean, Diablo duplicates loot so that everybody gets their own loot. You have other games where if you get a rare piece, you guys have to roll for it or whatever. Not this. Just first person there, you totally get it. So I'd say,
Jeff, it's the snooze you lose system. Everybody knows.
Yes, that is true, man. Hey, every man for himself. I got a question about that, Jeff. So I noticed that when I was playing, Brian and we were shooting the same guys and shooting the same bosses sometime. Mm-hmm. Who gets the experience points? When you drop somebody? Is it the person that does the final kill, or does everybody get equal points?
It's everybody. As far as I can tell, and I may be wrong on this, but as far as I can tell from my experience playing the game, everybody gets experience points, money, and uridium when you pick it up. But guns, it's just whoever gets there first. So, like, hey, if you're going to play this game co-op, you might want to make sure that you're not playing with dicks.
Well, you can get the gun from them. You just have to employ the whining method.
Yeah,
just whine a lot on the microphone until they give it up.
Pretend to be a homeless person with your hand out, saying, "Can I have that gun, please? Change, please." I put in some real work for that.
Is there a point where your character can just throw a temper tantrum and just whine until they give it to you?
No,
I want the gun. I want the gun. Take it, man. Shit, take it. Damn, all right.
Following them to other people's co-op multiplayer games. No,
Yeah,
you
you
don't
just-
get to go away that easily.
Yeah, you just follow him around, man. You knew I had that, right? Man, you knew that was mine. You knew I shot that motherfucker, man. You know that's my gun, man. You know, here, man, damn, take it, shit.
I didn't even realize it was a thing until I was we were doing the live thing with Brian Brushwood, and I was like, "Hey, he was sitting like 2 feet from me." I was like, "Hey, are you just picking up all the guns over there?" He's like, "Yeah, they're mine." I was like, what?
He's like a 2-year-old. Mine,
Yeah.
mine.
So yeah, that's something that I feel like, especially going forward. You know, if you're trying to get something specific and it drops and you've got 2 people, I mean, yeah, I guess you could duel for it or whatever. But if the other person just wants to be a total dickweed about it, they can just take it and there's nothing you can do about it, and that kind of sucks. But other than that, yeah.
Okay. Well, I gave my review about 3 hours ago.
Yeah, I know you get to leave. We have to talk about everything.
No, I didn't mean to skip over you guys either. I didn't know we had more to say. I'm glad you did come in with all that stuff, and that was a good question, Nick. Asking everybody if we had any complaints, so good for you. I rushed the gun or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, you guys want to do your wrap ups now or
Sure.
whatever?
Kevin, Nick, you guys.
Yeah, some old bullshit. No, I'm kidding. Full price.
So what is it?
Full price. Full price.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You're too busy yapping. You didn't hear him say it.
I mean, just jerking off or something. All right. So, did you give yours, Jeff?
No, not yet. I think I think this is a huge improvement of the first Borderlands. I think though that it's got some flaws, and oh shit, you better love shooting things in a video game, because that's 90% of what you're doing in here. So if you're like, oh well, I'll play it for the rich story, maybe give it a pass, But I mean, yeah, everything from the first game is been improved here. It's graphically, it looks better. It's more colorful. It's more interesting. Some of the characters get on your nerves after a while, but whatever. There's also, it should be noted that there's a hell of a lot of more content for this game. The campaign's 30 hours long. There's 4 different characters to play through. There's a new game plus. There's a 5th character coming out in October. There's a season pass for at least 4 pieces of DLC. So there's absolutely no way this isn't worth it. This is totally a full price. High full price.
Yeah, I've got to give credit to this game's sense of humor. It knows what it is and knows what its target audiences want. And it gives you everything you ask for and everything you expect. So I also give it a full price.
Yes. Jeff, you mentioned something that I think is a slight complaint, which is not that big a deal at all. Certain spots it could get repetitious.
Yeah.
Just kind of shooting the same enemies. I agree with you there. The other big complaint is, well, do not play this game if you're a midget. This game is not midget friendly at all. They tie midgets to shields so you can just shoot them as human fodder. I don't know how many times you can play a game that calls you, "Hey, midget lover."
They're midget robots in this game.
I thought they were midget people.
No,
I thought they were midget people, little like Jason Voorhees. Hockey mask.
There are midget people, but the robots that you fight later on, you start fighting little short versions of them that are like midget loaders or midget jet flyers. They made midget robots. It's just like, what the hell is going on in this game?
You will be an angry little man after you play this game. So watch out.
Suffice it to say, Vault Hunters, I'm gonna kill you. You want to prove me wrong? You want to stop the greatness that is Handsome Jack? Well, come and get me.